Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, November 26, 2024. This meeting has been called for the purpose of consideration of the 2025 capital budget and the 2026 to 2029 capital forecast. The meeting is for information and discussion purposes only. No decisions will be made tonight as a capital budget approval is scheduled for the regular meeting of council on December 12th, 2024. This meeting is being held in person and electronically in accordance with section 238, subsection 3.3 of the Municipal Act and section 16.6.24 of the City of Woodstock Procedure Bylaw. The meeting is being live streamed to the city's YouTube channel, and a recording of the meeting will also be posted on the city's website following the meeting. An agenda of the meeting can be found on the agendas, meetings, and minutes page of the city's website. And we're going to jump into things, but first off, are there any disclosures of conflict of interest? I am going to declare one. I'm Mayor Jerry Accioni, declare the following potential pecuniary interest for, of course, our 2025 capital budget project DEV 00022 Northeast Industrial Park. And the general nature of the interest is I own property in immediate vicinity of the subject property and will be asking acting Mayor Leatherborough to come forward at that time to take the chair. Wow, here we start already. All right, well, let's get into this. So budget discussions. We'll go through the budget page by page and ask that the appropriate staff member respond to questions of council, and I will call you forward just before we start the section and give council opportunity as we've done in the past. So right off the bat, we're going to start with IT. Now, IT tonight is working our meeting, of course. So if council doesn't have any immediate questions of IT this evening, what I'd say is please send them a message between now and our December 5th meeting, of course, to make sure you're satisfied. Okay? So that means we're going to jump into page 4, fleet and equipment. Now I would ask Mr. Locke to come forward. Thank you. So starting on page 4. And I should have went to page 4 to begin with. Any questions on page 4? Councillor Schattenberg. Oh, and I would ask that you say the item number specifically so everybody can follow along on what page number in case we
Yeah,
get
sure thing.
off. Thank you.
From the mayor through to Mr. Locke. EQ 00005 to replace the garbage trucks. I know this is one to be replaced in 2025, 2027, and 2029. I guess 2 questions. First of all, that's a sole sourced project.
Through your worship to the councillor, it would be, there would be an RFQ put out and we typically would take low bid. So it would not be sole sourced.
I know sometimes you have equipment like buses, which are always the same brand and whatnot, or Olympia ice surfacers. And the necessity therefore to get one every other year, is one supposed to be replacing or all 3 replacing current dump trucks or garbage trucks?
Thank you. Through you, your worship, to the councillor's questions. All 3 of these in this line item are replacements of existing equipment. So when they come up for their life cycle replacement, that's what these dates are. So they're tagged to the end of life of an existing piece of equipment.
Okay, thank you. Continue.
Hope there's not an allocation for total number of questions asked or can be asked, but 0011 replacement of wide area mowers. It looks like we'll be replacing 2 or 3 every year for the next coming years. Is that because of the growth of the city or old equipment again?
Through your worship, all of the ones, unless they say new, they're all end of life replacements of existing pieces of equipment.
Okay, I'm going to open it up to pages 4 and 5 now, if anybody has any questions. on either page? Seeing none, we'll move along to pages 6 and 7, since there's just a little bit on page 7. So pages 6 and 7. Seeing none?
Going.
All right. We will continue on. Thank you very much. Next up, we're page 8 for traffic signals and crossing protection. Mr. Don. Any questions on page 8? Counselor Martin?
Thank you, Mayor Accioni. Right at the very top of page 8, TRF 00001, repairs to existing signalized intersections. I noticed that, so for 2025, it's 90,000. Last year, when were projecting for 2025, it was 50,000. Are we doing twice as much, or have costs gone up? Or should it now be 90,000 every year, or what's unique about 2025 now compared to when we were projecting it?
Your worship, through the counselor, 2025, we're adding a couple fixes that we just became aware of this year. One of which would be like bringing the Dundas and Teeple lights up to AODA compatibility.
Anything else for traffic signals and crossing protection on page 8? Okay, seeing none, move along to pages 9 to 15 for those watching at home. Infrastructure and roads, page 9. Any questions of Mr. Don? Seeing none, we'll go to page, oh, sorry, Counselor Schoenberg.
Yeah, maybe just a quick explanation as to what's the difference between, again, the asphalt resurfacing and surface asphalt at various locations.
Your worship, through the counselor, a resurfacing basically is when you have a road that's just starting to deteriorate, when the underground is okay. What we basically do is we mill off the top layer and then put new asphalt down. Surface asphalt is basically putting that top layer of asphalt on the streets that we've reconstructed the previous year.
Anyone else for page 9? Then I'll move along to pages 10 and 11. Pages 10 and 11 for infrastructure and roads. Counselor Lauder.
Thank you. On page 10, number 059, which is at Adelaide Street parking lot. And it was in 2024 for 2025, but it now has moved into 2026. Is that, there's no rush on that? There's a,
Your worship, through the counselor, that is correct. We decided to push it back a year to even up this year.
okay. Thank you.
Anyone else for pages 10 and 11? Counselor Schoenberg.
I see the acronym when it comes to split paying for some of these projects, CCBF, just if you could explain what that is.
Oh,
Bottom of page 10. Athlone Ave.
Yeah, the first 3 items on page 10
Yeah.
all have that.
Oh, yeah, they do.
your worship, through the counselor, that is the building fund, federal gas tax, correct?
Last chance, anything on pages 10 and 11? Counselor Lauder?
Another one on page 10, the Winnett Street reconstruction, and it was in 2025. And now it's been pushed out to 2028. I just wondered on that one.
Your worship through the counselor. Adam, do you remember why we pushed it back so far? Pardon me? Winnett? That's right. To coordinate better with county projects in the adjacent area.
And we thank you for that. Counselor Tate.
Just through the chair. So further to the two streets that Councillor Lauder asked. So since we're pushing some out and looking at the asset management, we're so far behind on all our assets and we're gonna end up paying for all this future. Can we add any streets? And since we're pushing some of these out, because we're gonna be so far behind in the next few years, it's gonna be not good.
Your worship through the counselor, I can certainly give that some consideration and come back. I know, as you'll see when we get to the revenue budget, an increase to reserves is one of the things that we're asking for so that we can increase our yearly. So.
I'm gonna say that reserves are going up.
Yep.
Anything on pages 10 and 11? Last chance. Moving along to pages 12 and 13. For infrastructure and roads. Counselor Shanberg.
Yeah, item number 0099, Wellington Street, South Reconstruction, Dundas, to Peel, 394,000. Dundas to Peel is just a one block. Is there a reason why 394? It seems like a little bit of a higher number than to be expected to go, one block in reconstruction.
Your worship through the counselor, no, that's pretty much the going rate for a block of pavement, street nowadays.
Will this therefore be done simultaneously as phase one of our streetscape project?
Your worship through the counselor, that'll all depend on who the successful contractor will be. If it ends up being the same contractor, there's a good chance it will happen at the same time. But I can't guarantee that without knowing which contractors it is.
Again, pages 12 and 13, last chance. Okay, moving along to pages 14 and finishing it off on pages 15. So pages 14 and 15 for infrastructure and roads. Last chance, pages 14 and 15. Counselor Shanberg.
Yeah, on page number 15, 00191, so it's at the bottom of page 15, Piddock Park Road urbanization. If that's in essence a $4 million project and you're trying to get it all done in 1 year of 2026, what would be all the scope of that? That doesn't require any water or wastewater lines, does it?
Your worship, counselor, no, the county put in new water and sewer in there probably 10, 12 years ago or so. So basically it's just surface works, urbanizing the existing rural cross section. So putting curb and gutter along with sidewalk and streetlights.
That would have been the last part of my question with the streetlights.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Dolan.
Thank you. Counselor Lauder.
Thank you. On page 15 and 187, sidewalk replacement on Dundas. Can you just mention what, I know we talked about this, but what area that would be?
Yep. Your worship through the counselor, that is a section of Dundas Street between Mill and Van Ave. The county's planning on reconstructing that then. So we'll have to pay the share of the, since the city is responsible for sidewalk, we'll have to pay for that portion.
Thank you. And if that's it for everyone for infrastructure and roads, we'll move along to page 16 for sanitary sewers. So page 16 on sanitary sewers. Any questions of our city engineer? Moving along then to page 17 for water mains. Any questions on page 17 for water mains? Seeing none, moving along to page 18 for street lighting. No, Counselor Sandberg.
Yeah, for project 006, new streetlights in unlit areas. Is it possible, with the costing on this, to be able to get a list as to where some of these unlit areas are that really need lighting now?
Yep, sure. Your worship through the counselor, 2025, that would be along, on Athlone between Finkel and Juliana. So that would be done as, along with the road reconstruction project. 2026 is County Road 17, County Road 4 for 2027, and 2028 is Devonshire. And I'm sorry, but I don't remember what 2029 is.
Any other questions? Last chance for street lighting on page 18. Seeing none, then I'm going to ask Counselor Leatherborough to come forward and take the chair.
Okay, so we will now continue on with 309 development costs. This is spread out on page number 19, page 20 and page 21, but we'll start with page 19 if there's any questions from members of council. On page 19. Counselor Schadenberg?
Yeah, DEV 0012 and 0015, the Thames Development, undeveloped frontage, costs for, 2025. That's the 17th line?
Your worship through the counselor, that is correct, yes.
And it involves road widening, therefore?
Your worship, yes. During the whole draft plan of subdivision process, we identify, or we tell the developer which roads we think are going to be local collectors. And those roads, we want them to be built to an extra, but basically 1.5 meters wider than our standard road. And the city pays for that 1.5 meters.
Just as a note, I went down the 17th, just about an hour and a half ago, and there was stops and starts and stuff, flag people stopping the traffic and starting the traffic as they're widening the roads into some of the new streets there right now.
Any further questions from members of council for page 19? Seeing none, we'll go to the next page, page number 20. Counselor Lauder?
I just had this question on page 20. It's the first one. DC and CBC studies. Can someone tell me what the CBC studies are?
Your worship through the counselor, yeah. CBCs is what they introduced, I think, the last DC cycle. It stands for Community Benefit Charge. We at that time, we had our consultant take a look at whether or not it would be effective for the city to introduce those instead of DCs. At the time, our growth pattern or demographics for building what didn't really make sense. Like we get covered under DCs what we need to. We'll take a look at it again next time because we are getting more high density. It kind of deals more with high density than single family. So the next time through, it might make a difference. Yep.
Any further questions for page number 20 or page number 21? On page 21, there's only one description of project, so. I'm seeing none, so I will call the mayor back in to council chambers. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So moving along brings us to page 22 for cost recoverable from developers. These questions are also directed at the city engineer. So any questions on page 22? Counselor Schanberg.
It's always interesting to see when some of these things that we have in discussion come up on the actual, on the budget, which makes it look, watch the flow through on the numbers. But the intersection improvement at Mill Street, Clark, and where the TA truck stop was, is always interesting because it's $1.1 million for next year. What specifically has to be done there?
Your worship, so the 1.1 million is not all the work. There's basically three parties involved in there. There's the developer on the east side, MTO itself, and the city. The work basically requires a new driveway entrance and new signals into the what used to be the TA truck stop property. New northbound lanes between the off ramp and the entrance, as well as widening and new lanes on Clark Street, the west leg off of Mill Street there. And according to the agreements, MTO will be doing the design and construction, and with all the parties paying them back.
And we do expect that to be done next year in 2025.
Your worship, that was the schedule that they gave us. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. Sorry, you don't mind, Counselor Schanberg? Add on to your question. Anyone else on page 22, sorry, page 22? Okay, seeing none, move along to new buildings, repairs and maintenance. Also, Mr. Dahan. Pages 23 to 26. So we're going to start with page 23. Any questions on page 23? Counselor Tate?
Through the chair. Another one that got pushed out, and I'd like an explanation because I don't think this was a good idea. BL 00075 complex roof replacement.
Your worship, through the counselor. Yes, we originally had put 300,000 in for 2025 for one of the lower roofs on the complex. Through the budget discussions, we decided that what we would do is in 2025 instead get the study done and the engineering tender package done, and then plan for the construction in 2026 to start.
So just further to that, we could possibly move that back to where it should be, because I am concerned all our buildings are in rough shape, as we can tell from the asset management. So if we wanted to, we could do a motion at capital. Is that possible to get that completed?
Your worship, through the counselor, staff will do its best.
Counselor Martin?
Thank you, Mayor Accioni. So I'll ask about the other roof replacement, building 00064 Cowan Sportsplex. This was originally budgeted for 600,000, but it looks like now it's kind of being broken into two phases, with the second phase being deferred a couple of years.
Your worship, through the council, that is correct. The The phase for next year is the lower roof and it is leaking already. So it needs to be addressed immediately. However, the rest of it, we think can probably be pushed out a few years.
Thank you. Anyone else on page 23? Seeing none. Flipping over to pages 24 and 25. Any questions on pages 24 and 25? For new buildings, repairs and maintenance. Counselor Wismer Van Meer.
This is on page 25 and it's for Market Theater interior painting and lighting upgrades. So it's 00143 and 144. Is that just for the theater half of the building, or is that, I'm assuming it would be just that half because of the other half being just recently renovated, or is there other sections in there that would be addressed in this?
Your worship, through the counselor, no, that's just the theater part.
Perfect. Thanks.
Counselor Sandberg.
Back to page 24, Market Theater Projector and Screen 00136. It's in for $180,000. Just to confirm, is the theater paying for any portion of that, or is the city of Woodstock as the sort of landlord paying the full fare for that?
Your worship, through the counselor, no, that is wholly a city cost. And basically because it's there to allow the city to start up their movie program again, which is run by the city, not the theater.
Exciting to see it back. Potentially. Counselor Lauder.
Thank you. Through the chair to Mr. Dehan. On page 24, 00128, Aquatic Center, the roof replacement. So that 400,000, is that just for part of the roof?
Your worship, through the counselor, yeah, that is the part over the pool, which is currently leaking.
So the other part of the roof is still in good shape?
Your worship, through the counselor, that's correct.
Okay,
At least it doesn't need to be done in the next 5 years.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Last chance for pages 24 and 25. Any questions? New buildings, repairs and maintenance. I'm going to include 26 now simply because there's only one item. So Counselor Wismer Van Meer.
On 25 again, sorry, it's the 00147 for the Lions Pool demolition. What all is entailed in that demolition? Is it taking the pool out, taking the building all down? Is it something that is time sensitive that has to be done for 2025?
Your worship, through the counselor, it's not necessarily time sensitive, although we are spending money to keep the utilities going so that pipes don't freeze. But yes, that would include the demo of the pool and the building.
Okay, last chance for the section pages 23 to 26 for new buildings, repairs and maintenance. Any questions before we move along? Okay, seeing none, we'll move along to transit on pages 27 and 28 for those watching. On page 27, any questions for Mr. Dehan? On page 27. Counselor Shanberg.
Item number 0006, replace a city bus. So one brand new bus in 25 and another new one in 26. Again, these will be diesel buses.
Your worship, through the counselor, that's our hope that we can. We, as you mentioned earlier, we have always sole sourced our buses through Nova. However, we've heard that beginning either this year or next year, they're switching to building on 100% of their fleet will be electric. We're not ready to go there yet. So we're hoping we can get it under the wire, at least make the 2025 a diesel. 2026, we may have to open it up and get non-Nova buses in our fleet.
don't shoot the messenger, but if we are at operating budget time, gonna, increase transit into the city of Woodstock, when we do that budget, would there be enough buses with one new one in 25 and one new one in 26 to increase, coverage of the city or timing or whatever along those lines?
Your worship through the counselor, right now, right now we have enough buses to cover our routes along with a little factor of safety when the buses go down. We are, as you'll see, we're asking for some money for a study later on. And part of that will be rerouting the whole city, as well as the option of creating peak times where there's like maybe 2 buses on a route as opposed to 1 during peak times. And depending on what option we end up going with as we get there, we may need to buy additional buses to increase our fleet at that point in time. But that would not be included in this right now.
I'm going to just quickly tack onto that, if I may, Councillor Tate. Back to Nova themselves. Any timelines right now are we given for ordering a bus? If we are able to order a bus, are they
Hold on a second.
6 months, 12 months? For production, yeah, if we ordered them
Just over a year. But
a year.
when did we need to order it in order to ensure that we got a diesel? End of the year, okay.
Okay, so this is.
So the 12th
important to be on
should be
there.
fine.
Okay.
Okay,
I guess that was my fear, like, are we gonna run past and not? So, good.
right.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Councillor Tate.
Yeah, through the chair, just kind of along that same line, so. There's just a battery place that just, and Volkswagen, I think, owned 25% of it. They just went bankrupt. So, and I know somebody who has a close connection to school buses that are doing electric, and there's problems all over the place, and we know what happened in Calgary with buses. So is that the only source we have for?
No, your worship to the counselor, no, Nova, sorry. We've always just kind of gone through Nova because it makes things easier for our mechanics to use it. But there are other companies that make, and even other Canadian companies, because we always preferred Canadian also, that make buses.
It's a good question. Anyone else? Again, we'll go with page 27 and 28 for transit. Any further questions on transit? Last chance. Transit pages 27 to 28. All right, we're gonna give you a break and let you sit down.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you.
Now I'd ask Chief Slager to come forward. Of course, we got the fire department on pages 29 and 30. We're gonna start just simply on page 29. Counselor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Accioni. 00032 line item on the radio replacement. Is that the full suite of radios get replaced all at once? Or is there kind of an ongoing cycle of replacement, or what does that look like?
Your worship, through to Councillor Martin. So this is the full replacement of our portables, our mobile truck radios, and our stationware. So everything that we currently have is nearing the end of the functional life on them, or their supported life. So yes, it'll be for a complete replacement.
And if I may, then how frequently what is an end of life? Is it 15 years, 12 years, 30 years?
Your worship, through to Councillor Martin, it's on an average of about a 10-year lifespan is what we look at with those.
Thank you.
If I can continue on the same item number. Other departments carrying the cost of those as well, because my understanding is not just these radios are going to be used by the fire department?
Your worship, through to the question. So this project is specifically just for the fire department radio. So it's a department purchase. This is not part of the general city infrastructure in which all of our radios operate on. So transit is responsible for their own, but we all connect to the infrastructure as a as a whole, so.
Thank you. Last chance for page 29. Counselor Shattenberg.
Yeah, item 038 at the bottom of the page, new substation. Now, I notice it's in for 2027, which is certainly down the line, but there's no monies earlier than that, say for purchasing land or doing a feasibility study or all the work that has to be done to sort of calculate the readiness and need of this project for 2027.
Your worship, through to Councillor Shattenberg. So for 2024, council approved a master plan, a fire master plan and our community risk assessment. And as part of that, which is ongoing at the present time for the fire master plan, it will entail the requirements or the assessment for the needs and placement of additional stations, in addition to how the function of the fire department serves our community. So that is already forthcoming.
Okay, I'm going to include page 30 now. So the rest of fire department, pages 29 and 30. Any other questions for fire department? Seeing none? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Moving along to Parks and Forestry. Welcome, Mr. Connors. This can be found in your book, pages 31 to 35. We're going to start with page 31. Any questions of Mr. Connors for Parks and Forestry? Counselor Shanberg.
Yeah, near the bottom of the page, 0026, sports field lighting, replace the poles and lights. When you say sports field lighting, is that the Tip O'Neill Sports Field?
Your worship, through to the councillor's question, that is Brompton Sports Field.
Just gonna add that Tip O'Neill Sports Field, the renovations and improvements that have been there have been quite remarkable over the last couple of years, especially this past year. The other one I was kind of worried or not confused about mostly was the Cowan Fields development for cricket and a diamond. I'm assuming that's not a ball diamond, but where would the necessity of a cricket field be if one's already under construction?
Your worship, through to the councillor's question, that is lights for a cricket pitch. And then the next one would be for a fourth ball field at Cowan Fields.
Anyone else on page 31? Counselor Shanberg.
Near the top of the page, 002, play structure improvements. It's always great to see little municipal parks getting upgraded, new playground equipment for the kids. But where in 2025 is the project planned? Anyone that's in a certain neighborhood might want to be glad to hear this.
Your worship, through the councillor's question, that would be Northland, and there we'd be looking at doing a junior and senior set.
Counselor Wismer Van Meer.
Similar to Councillor Schadenberg's, except for 01, the drives, parking area, accessible walkways. I know I spoke with you about, I should know what the park is called because it's right around the corner from my house, but beside Algonquin Public School, there was questions is it Dutton Park? Okay, couldn't remember if it was Thompson or Dutton. I think Thompson's on Springbank. If that one from Ojibwe, the walkway up, I think there was some work being done there recently. Is that going to be part of the plans? I know that it was budgetary that was restricting it from potentially from 2024, but do we have a list of parks that would be on that for the 2025 budget?
Your worship, through to the councillor's question, for 2025, we're looking at Donald Thompson and Armstrong. But I believe 24, we are doing that that access way. Yeah.
Okay, last chance for page 31. Move it along to pages 32 and 33. 32 and 33 for parks and forestry. Counselor Leatherborough.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Connors. So I have two questions. The first one is PKS 00063 Cowan Fields Junior Playground. I see 350,000 for the year 2026. Assuming that is to replace the current playground, not add another junior playground to that site.
Your worship, through to the councillor's question, that is correct. That is a replacement.
And if I can just continue a couple down, PKS 00070 Piddock North Shore accessible washrooms. Just genuinely curious, obviously I see 650,000 slated for 2029. And just wondering how that landed, to be in the year of 2029, just if you have any extra information about
Yeah.
that one specifically.
Your worship, through to the councillor's question. It's in this, like kind of a lot farther back, because there is some work that has to happen before we put in washrooms, which would be getting water and sewer over the bridge over the CN tracks. And that might take some time. We tried costing it out and it was pretty excessive. And we still need to work with the UTRCA on that. So it has backed up the washrooms in that area.
Unintended. Sorry, somebody had to say it. Counselor Wismer Van Meer.
On page 32, the disc golf redevelopment of 70, it's 00073. Is that, is the redevelopment just work to the current disc golf course over on the north side of Piddock? Or is this something that's, is there another space that's being redeveloped for that?
Your worship, through to the councillor's question, it is the same course. But what we're doing in 2025 is more of the design work. We have done some work already on the course and had some evaluations of it. So there are some places where the course actually crosses some pedestrian walks, and that's from a risk management side, that's not safe. So we're looking at redesigning the course, getting in different signage. And then in 2026, we would be looking at making sure we get the tee mats and the actual holes redone.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Lauder.
Through the mayor to Mr. Connors, 0076 Cowan Sportsplex spray pad that's a new pad that's going to go in the Sally Creek area, that on the other side, but.
Yeah, your worship, through to the councillor's question, that will actually go in at the Cowan Sportsplex. It'll go in right beside the pavilion, the new pavilion that was put in. We are anticipating that the current spray pad that is operated by the UTRCA is really at end of life, so we don't know how many years it has left. And we just figured that this is a much better location to put a city asset, just given how many young soccer players there are.
Yeah, I like the location of that, actually. I do. Anyone else for pages 32 and 33? Counselor Lauder.
Yes, on page 33, 00108 Piddock Park Road Sliver Trail Parking. I notice it isn't until 2027. And I know, since I walked there a lot, the parking is very limited, and as the winter progresses and then in the melts in the spring, everyone is parking on all the grass there and it becomes very muddy. But could you just explain why we have to wait for that a little longer?
Your worship, through to the councillor's question. There will be some road work done up in that area, I believe. And we would want to kind of put it in around there. Obtaining land in that corner it's pretty tight. So we want to make sure that we do it together for efficiencies. But we do recognize that that is a strangle point for parking just because of the use of that trail.
Thank you. That will give me an answer to tell the other people that's complaining to me all the time about it. Thank you. I have one more.
Continue.
00123, new complex spray pad. That's for 215,000. What is that exactly for?
Your worship, through the councilor's question. So that is the spray pad that has just been built on Finkel, but this is for fencing, picnic tables and benches. So it finishes off the spray pad area, even though the playground and the spray pad are built. It's just everything around that.
Counselor Martin.
Thank you. On that same page, page 33, PKS 00124, the pickleball courts at Cowan Field, $660,000 outdoor. And is it a 6-court, a 4-court, an 8-court, 982 court? We'll never have enough, but how many will 660,000 get us?
Your worship, through the councilor's question, this is an 8-court. And it'll be south of the pavilion on that, and it will be outdoor, yes.
That was my question on that. Hey, Counselor Leatherborough.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Connors, on page 33, PKS 00100, Park Development, I'm assuming, hospital site bracket Brant Street. So that's the old Woodstock Hospital site, I presume?
Your worship, to the councilor's question, yes, it is.
And so could be a two-pronged question, but I was under the impression that a new subdivision had to have like 70% occupancy before a city park could be made. Maybe that's incorrect, but is there development happening and a park at the same time or within the next 2 years?
Your worship, through the councilor's question, these park developments are always a bit of a guess on our part. We do try to connect with the developer to see when things are going, but they have to hand over the land before we can actually develop it. And under the conversations that we have with them, this is where it slots in. It could easily move back if they're not ready. So.
Thank you. I thought that was exciting to see. Is that accurate though? That information I said about 70% occupancy usually for the developer to give the city the land?
Your worship, through the councilor's question, it is not. They could give us the land at any time. In some places, they like to see the park built first, and that actually helps to sell property.
Thank you. Last chance for pages 32 and 33. Counselor Shanberg.
I think we've covered just about every one on page 33. 0085 UTRCA accessible dock. What side of Piddock is that on? And specifically where?
Your worship, through to the councilor's question, it is on the north shore. And what it will be, there'll be a break wall there. And it'll also provide an easier way for vehicles to get in and out, and it will make sure that there's a kind of a safer dividing line between pedestrians and vehicles.
I believe you misspoke. I believe that's South Shore. I'm being.
Oh, did I say
told.
North Shore?
You said North Shore.
I am sorry. Yes,
Yes.
it is South Shore. Yes.
Yeah. It's okay. I knew it was South Shore and
Yes.
I wrote North Shore because you said it, so.
Yeah, no, it is definitely South Shore.
Okay, Counselor Shanberg.
Because it's an accessible dock, is there any grants available for such a project?
Your worship, through the councilor's question, currently there is not, but that is certainly something we'll be looking for. With any of these projects, we do certainly scour for grants to offset costs.
Okay, last chance, page 32 and 33 before we flip the page. Okay, I'm gonna flip and we'll finish it off in pages 34 and 35 for Parks and Forestry. Any questions, Mr. Connors? Counselor Wismer Van Meer.
Through the chair to Mr. Connors, for page 34, 126, 127, 128, 129. So the ball diamond redevelopments, because all of these diamonds are kind of different and are often used for different levels of baseball. I don't expect a complete full answer on this one, but what kind of work, what does the redevelopment look like? I know for Sutherland's, as somebody who plays on that diamond, the dugouts are not the most desirable, but they do. So I'm just curious what the redevelopments look like for some of these diamonds potentially.
So, Your worship, through to the councilor's question. So we're looking at, as far as the redevelopment, fencing, putting up concrete around that, the base there, and the dugouts would be the redevelopment piece for Brompton. And yes, the surfacing would also be redone.
And just to follow up on that, this is conversations I've had before my time on council as well with staff as well, and Mr. Kern was a big help when I originally came. The back complex diamond, anybody that's played ball there knows that it is really unfavorable for sun for the fielders. Is that part of what redevelopment might be looking like, is to address some of those concerns? I know, I mean, it's really tough to get rid of the sun and move it when it's in your eyes. But just wondering, I know there's been a few thoughts to try to address that, but budgets obviously are always tough to deal with. So I just was curious if that might be part of this redevelopment, fingers crossed, maybe?
Your worship, through the councilor's question, yes, you are certainly correct. It has been an ongoing issue. And we have been looking at trying to have other means to block the sun when it starts to come down right over, right behind the plate. But it is quite difficult. Certainly when we do look at a more fulsome redevelopment, that will be something we look at, but we will continue to try to seek answers for that before this 2029 redevelopment.
As a third baseman that plays on that field occasionally, I can appreciate, I mean, that is difficult. It's dangerous. Counselor Leatherborough.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Connors. So couple jumps down, PKS 00131 Florence Carlisle Park. Walkway seating, I think that says garden. I know Mary reads in-house, but just interested and excited to see what exactly this is for 2025.
Your worship, through the councilor's question, this this park, we have one piece of art in it and a second one coming. So at this time, staff believes that it's time to put a walkway around the pieces so that it kind of adds to the park. So that's been the plan all along, to have a walkway through that that section. So that's where it's in here now.
Would that be additional seating too, or just because it says seating in the description? I didn't know if there would be another bench or two.
Your worship, through to the councilor's questions or question, I believe there will be seating as well. Benches will be made available, but this right now, I do know that we were I'm actually talking today about the walkway and like the surface. It won't be asphalt because of the trees, but we're gonna try to make it as hard a surface as possible, yes.
These mics. So just one more question on the same page, just two down, PKS 00133 Southside Park Special Events E-Panel. I was just curious what this was.
Your worship, through the councillor's question, this is putting some underground wiring and right now there's a wooden electrical panel, and this is to upgrade that for special events. Special events right now spends quite a bit of money renting a lot of these covers, which are very expensive to rent, so that people don't trip over all the cords. So, and this will put it underground as well and upgrade the electrical box.
Counselor Lauder.
Thank you. Through the mayor to Mr. Connors. PK 00134 Southside Park Fix Heart Sculpture Base. Could you just explain what that is?
Your worship, through to the councillor's question. This is strictly a base for some donated artwork. Split Heart, I believe, if I could ask Mary to come up and maybe go over that a little bit in more detail.
Right here in the middle. Pull this up. I don't know why the mouse and I don't. It's okay. I just can never see the mouse. There we go. So thank you very much, Councillor Lauder. So through to the mayor, to the councillor's question, and I'm sorry to be usurping on the parks, but you know, I have an agenda to put art everywhere. So this piece has been generously offered to the Woodstock Art Gallery's public art collection from John McEwen. Some of you may remember we had John's exhibition on view at the gallery in 2018. He is internationally renowned, Order of Canada, but he is actually looking now in terms of legacy pieces as he's approaching his 80th birthday. So this piece is titled Split Heart. John came down in the summer, met with our park staff, and we found the location in Southside Park, and he will be donating this to us in 2025. He will also be donating all of the engineering drawings, the specs, the transportation, and all the rest of it. And so this is just to really to provide the footing for it. So I personally feel that this will become a landmark piece in the city of Woodstock because of all of the weddings and proms and proposals and all the rest of it. So I'm very, very pleased that this is coming here to the city of Woodstock.
Thank you. And I think it'll be a great asset to that area. So thanks for that explanation. I have one more question. PK 137 Trail System Street Viewer Application. Can you just explain what that is?
Your worship, through the councillor's question, this would be a Google Street View for the trail system so that residents could see the trail system much like they could look at streets. So it would help people identify them, promote the trails.
Thanks. I think that's a great idea. Thank you.
If I can add on to that too, I had a question mark beside that one. So that's something we do as the city then? We provide Google the images or the video or however that works. Is that correct then?
Your worship, what that would do is we would have a contractor come out, do the work, it would get uploaded to Google, and then it would be on the system at that point. So, yeah.
I love it. I think it's a great idea. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Last chance for Parks and Forestry, pages 31 to 35. Councillor Leatherborough?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Connors, on page 35, I did notice, so PKS 00138 Museum Square improvements. So I noticed in the capital budget notes, these dollars look like they're going towards, addressing the kind of loose gravel, but if you just had some, insight as to what this, could entail.
Your worship, through to the counselor's question. This would be adding large planters, which can be removed when not needed. Adding some seating for shade, adding a second vine structure as well that we already have one there now, and then allowing for more hard pack surfacing, just so we can kind of get rid of the trips and slip hazards that we have there now. So
Along that same line, on that same item, just to be clear, we're really just packing it down in essence. We're not really looking at putting any other hard surface over top of that.
your worship, it would be adding material, but then making sure it's packed down tight.
Gravel though,
Yes.
not pavement or grass seed or anything like that.
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah, just want to make sure council knows. Yeah,
Right.
Thank you. Seeing as that's all, we'll move along. Page 36 is recreation programs. Of course, Mr. Connors is still here. Any questions? Page 36. Counselor Wismer Van Meer.
Through the chair to Mr. Connors, the first item, 0006, I might be missing a zero, sorry. Micro skate park. What does a micro skate park look like exactly? And then where would this be going at the complex? I think it sounds like a neat idea, neat concept, but I've never seen one before.
Your worship, through the counselor's question, what a micro skate park is it's a very small skate park for younger skaters. It's a beginner level skate park. So right now we're very fortunate to have a fairly advanced skate park, but this is for younger skaters to learn without having to face the giant drops that are at the Southside Skate Park.
Or for middle-aged people like myself, taking up a new sport. And is this going behind the complex then in that area? Is it going to be going down towards where the splash pad park area is?
Your worship, through to the counselor's question, we are still looking at a location. The complex is one that's being considered, but there is also some advantages to putting it beside a current park, like a playground area, just as a small little add-on, so that it could go there as well.
Sorry, along those same lines, the same question, then I just want to make sure we're not taking up parking spaces. I was there recently and it's a busy spot, so that's not the plan.
Your worship, we would not touch the parking areas. Yeah, no, it would, we would certainly make sure it's not on park.
Perfect. Okay, well, thank you. Anyone else on page 36 for recreation programs? Counselor Lauder.
Thank you. Through the mayor to Mr. Connors, 0010, esports gaming equipment. Could you just explain that and what age group this would really be good for?
Your worship, through to the counselor's question. So this would be for purchasing of e-gaming and esports equipment. It could be used for all age groups. However, the cohort that normally uses this or uses it the most in other municipalities is teens. So.
Thank you. Last chance for anything on page 36. Counselor Leatherborough.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Connors, the very last one, REC 00012 Rec Camps Program Equipment. It does seem self-explanatory. I didn't know, I just see it like year over year. Or sorry, no, I misread that. Just this year in 2027. So disregard my question. I read too far down, sorry.
Okay, is that all for recreation programs? Moving along to aquatics, is good with everyone? Yes. So of course, we're into aquatics, so page 37, and I'm gonna include 38, only because there's just one little line on page 38. So all of aquatics, page 37 and 38. Counselor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Accioni, through to Mr. Connors. Aquatics 00015, the change room facility expansion. You have talked about this at length at Recreation Advisory Committee, and so I feel like I have maybe the inside scoop. Could you talk about what this looks like, what the goals would be, and any challenges that are being experienced in getting to that goal?
Your worship, through to the councillor's question. What this is it will be a refreshment of the current change rooms and hopefully an expansion of the capacity of the change rooms. We are having some challenges with that because there's a number of load-bearing walls and we are challenged with some soil issues around the building as well as kind of a steep hill, but the goal of this will be a complete refresh of the change rooms as they are, and hopefully a development of further capacity for the change rooms, which is certainly the plan. So we'd like to see expanded volume of change rooms so more people can get through the change rooms, and it certainly needs a cleanup and refresh as well.
Thank you for that. Counselor Lauder.
Thank you. Through the mayor to Mr. Connors. AQU 027, the pool basin repairs. How long would that be? Not that you won't be able to use it, and what time of the year do you think that might happen?
Your worship, through to the councillor's question. We are looking at doing this repair in late November, early December of next year, should this pass. And we'd like to try to coordinate that with any closure at work for the change rooms as well. So we'd like to do this so that it's a minimal closure of the pool, since we just have the one.
Just one question.
Yep.
How long do you think that the pool would be out of order?
Your worship, through the councillor's question. That will certainly depend on the contractor. We would be looking at the shortest period of time. We'd hope something like this, we'd like to be closed no longer than 6 weeks.
Again, along those lines, that was a question I had written down, what kind of time frame, and if we could tie those together. So thank you very much for that. Counselor Leatherborough.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Connors. My only question was around the change rooms, and I just had a couple residents ask about if the sauna was able to be saved with the change room expansion. So I did say that I would follow up asking that.
Your worship, through to the councillor's question. We put everything on the table as far as what can go to make more change room space. However, if there's a way to keep the sauna and continue to grow change room space, we will certainly do that. It is in a section that is fairly protected. So our goal is not to remove the sauna. However, if it means getting more change room space, we would certainly sacrifice that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Again, pages 37 and 38 for aquatics. Seeing none, last chance. All right, moving along. Next up, page 39 to 40, Community Complex and Civic Center. Again, I'll do both those pages together as page 40 is short. Any questions for Mr. Connors on Community Complex and Civic Center? Counselor Schenberg.
On page 40 for the Civic Center Arena for, I know it's 2026, not 2025, but to do rehab on the arena for 1.2 million. Besides the floor itself underneath the ice, what else would be covered under the 1.2 million?
Your worship, through to the counselor's question. This would be for the chiller. The boards themselves are at end of life, and the floor. And we will take this year by year. If we can extend it, we will, so as not to spend money on the Civic. However, we can't treat the Civic like Lions Pool. Lions Pool, we were always able to absorb the program into Southside. We certainly can't do that with the Civic Center. So if we can't afford to lose a pad and 1/3 of our ice. So we need to have this. So if we evaluate that, you know, we're not going to be able to make another season without doing the boards, then we'll need to do the boards.
Thank you. Again, anyone else? Pages 39 and 40. Community Complex and Civic Center. Seeing none, I will move along to Cowan Park. Same idea there, pages 41 and 42. 42 is short. So pages 41 and 42 for Cowan Park. Any questions of council? Counselor Lauder.
Thank you. Through the mayor to Mr. Connors on the CWN 012 indoor turf replacement. It was scheduled for 2025 and it was 900,000, and now it's in for 26 at 1,570,000. Could you just explain the extension and how serious is it that it has to be done or should be done soon?
Your worship, through to the councilor's question. The 900,000 was an estimate. This is an actual quote that we got for the work. So that's the difference in the price. This has been pushed back already, but staff will continue to evaluate the condition of the turf. And if we can extend it, we will certainly continue to push it back. However, it is getting close to near end of life.
Anyone else? Counselor Wismer Van Meer.
Through the chair to Mr. Connors, 16, which is the Reeves Hall flooring. I know at first there was some confusion. Somebody had asked me why it was being redone, but already they thought it was they were thinking golf hall because they saw Reeves Hall. This is obviously the one at Cowan Park. But that did add another question from them was the flooring redone when it was converted to the gymnasium, or is this a brand new flooring completely that needs to go in, or just upgrades that were expected?
Your worship, through to the councilor's question. When we converted Reeves Hall to Reeves Gym at the Sportsplex, the floor was not changed except for lines being put down. So it's a hall floor. However, we have put it this far back because we need to make sure that the roof doesn't leak, because on a sports floor, a leaky roof really does damage to hardwood floors. It makes them undulate a lot. So we need to make sure it's watertight before we do the floor at all.
Thank you. Anyone else for pages 41 and 42 for Cowan Park? Seeing none. We'll go to the last one for Mr. Connors this evening for page 43, which is special events. Any questions on the single item? Counselor Schanberg.
I know it's never safe to assume anything, but the 006 line, additional recycling receptacles, is that something that is done thanks to the Woodstock Environment Advisory Committee and some of their works for special events, especially in Southside Park?
Your worship, through to the councillor's question, yes, this is trying to make sure that we do more recycling during our special events. So this is Cowpalooza, the Victoria Day. So this is just kind of the seed money to get some more promotion of recycling and some more recycling receptacles and kiosks.
Along those lines, is this something then non-permanent? These are ones that will move in and out depending on, or is this a permanent things we're putting?
Your worship, through to the councillors, your worship, through to your question.
I've been called worse.
No. The special events team is still looking at that. One of the real problems with recycling in parks is the failure rate of the recycling material. So hundreds of people can come in and put in the right receptacle, and then someone puts in some dog waste or something that just spoils the entirety of it. So we're trying to come up with ways that we can get the recycling done in a manner that it's more successful. So people don't just optically think they're recycling and really it's just going to garbage. So we want to make sure that it's actually going to recycling.
Okay, thank you. Last chance for special events. Thank you very much. Thank you. Next up, we'll welcome back Ms. Reed for Art Gallery, page 44 in your books. Any questions for page 44? Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. Through the mayor to Ms. Reed. Could you just explain on the 0004 public art on the 125th anniversary?
Sure. Thank you very much, Councillor Lauder. So through to the mayor to the councillor's question. This is just getting ready for Woodstock's 125th anniversary. We do have money set aside through the Bruce Flowers donation in our art acquisition fund to fund another public art project. And then you guys all know that I'm quite a proficient grant writer. So I'll be sharpening up my pencils and starting to be able to access some additional funds. And, I kind of arbitrarily picked 125 as the number, but we'll see what that success will bring in terms of celebrating our 120th in 2026.
Thank you. Anyone else? For Art Gallery? Seeing none? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up on page 45, we have library. Ms. Harris, welcome. Any questions on page 45? Councillor Schanberg.
Yeah, on line 0021, network and security upgrades for 17,500. Just kind of curious what that would all entail.
Through the mayor to the counselor's question, through the partnership that we have now with City IT, we are working to bring our library infrastructure up to the same standards that the city has employed. So this is upgrading things like servers and equipment that is at end of life and other backup systems, et cetera, to bring us in line with the city.
Sorry about that. Any other questions? On page 45 for library. Counselor Schanberg?
Just curious of the early literacy station 0020, if they're early literacy stations, could they be used for computer programs for English as a second language?
Through the mayor to the counselor's question, these particular stations are single purpose. If you're in the library in the children's area, they're the ones with the colorful keyboards. They are specifically for early literacy. And there are some French programs on this, but mostly English. We have other initiatives that are coming through our revenue budget that will address a lot of our newcomer needs moving forward.
Anything else for Ms. Harris? In the library? Seeing none, thank you. Brings us to the last item of this evening, which is page 46, which is police. I do not see police here. So we can take any questions and we can make sure that gets sent out to anyone. Or encourage you, of course, to send messages direct if you like. And ask that maybe you CC all of council, but just do not reply to that, so everyone's aware, please. So any questions on page 46, police? You'd ask to ask right now. Okay. Seeing none, that does finish everything that we plan to do tonight. Counselors are requested to forward their suggested amendments to council, the CAO, and the Director of Administrative Services by December 5th, 2024, of course, for inclusions in the December 12th agenda. Again, we will be voting on this on December 12th agenda. As all items were covered this evening, the alternate meeting for Thursday, November 28th is not required. Before I call an adjournment, I just want to say thank you to all staff. I know this takes months to put together, the willingness to answer questions. We all ask you questions throughout, but to be here tonight and the willingness to answer them, we really do appreciate it. So thank you. Thank you. And with that, I'll call an adjournment. Councillor Schattenberg, second by Councillor Martin. All those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.